Welcome to Weird and Bizarre History, where we step into the shadows of the past and discover the strange and fascinating historical events that occurred on this day in history. We dive into the weird and bizarre events that shaped the world. Join us daily for tales of triumph, tragedy, scandal, and intriguing stories that will leave you speechless. Imagine going for a wedding only for it to turn to a massacre. Well, that was the reality of some people on August 22, 1572. Today we will talk about the St. Bartholomew's Day Massacre, August 22, 1572. It's August 22, 1572, in Paris, France, and the city is a powder keg ready to explode. The air is thick with tension, the streets buzzing with whispers of religion and betrayal. Catholics and Protestants, known as Huguenots, have been at odds for years, their rivalry tearing France apart. But on this night, the eve of St. Bartholomew's Day, a wedding meant to bring peace turns into a bloodbath. What began as a celebration ends in one of the most shocking massacres in history, leaving thousands dead and a scar on humanity that still stings today. This is the story of the St. Bartholomew's Day Massacre, a tale so brutal and bizarre it's hard to believe it happened. France in the 1570s was a nation divided. Catholics held power, but the Protestant Huguenots were growing stronger, especially among the nobles. To ease tensions, a marriage was arranged between Marguerite de Valois, a Catholic princess, and Henry of Navarre, a Protestant leader. The wedding was set for August 18, 1572, in Paris, and Huguenot leaders from across France flocked to the city to celebrate. For a moment, it seemed like peace was possible. But behind the scenes, powerful Catholics, including Queen Catherine de' Medici, were uneasy. They feared the Huguenots were gaining too much influence. Among the Huguenot leaders was Gaspard de Coligny, a respected admiral and a voice of reason. Coligny was close to King Charles IX, the young Catholic king, and that closeness worried Catherine. She saw Coligny as a threat, a Protestant whispering in her son's ear. On August 22, as the wedding festivities wound down, an assassin tried to kill Coligny, shooting him in the street. The bullet grazed his arm, leaving him wounded but alive. The Huguenots were furious, demanding justice. Paris became a tinderbox, with armed men on both sides eyeing each other warily. That night, Catherine and her allies made a fateful decision. They convinced King Charles that the Huguenots were planning a revolt, a lie fueled by fear and ambition. To protect the crown, they said, the Huguenot leaders had to die. Charles, only 22 and easily swayed, gave the order. As midnight approached, church bells rang across Paris, not for prayer, but as a signal for slaughter. Armed Catholic mobs, backed by the king's guards, poured into the streets, targeting Huguenot homes. The violence was swift and merciless. Coligny was dragged from his bed, stabbed, and thrown out a window. His body was mutilated, his head cut off and sent to the Louvre as a trophy. The mobs didn't stop there. They went door to door, killing men, women, and children. Families were butchered in their beds, their bodies dumped into the Seine River. The streets ran red, and the air filled with screams. By morning, thousands were dead, estimates range from 2,000 to 10,000 in Paris alone. The massacre spread to other cities, lasting weeks, with up to 70,000 killed across France. What makes this story so disturbing is the betrayal. The Huguenots came to Paris for a wedding, a symbol of unity, only to be slaughtered by those they trusted. Imagine attending a celebration, thinking you're safe, only to hear bells signaling your doom. The king himself, meant to protect his people, greenlit the killings. Even more chilling, some Catholics believed they were doing God's work, cleansing the city of heretics. The brutality was so extreme that even Pope Gregory XIII, when told of the massacre, ordered a celebratory mass, thinking it a victory for the Church. Hard to believe, right? A pope praising a bloodbath. The aftermath was chaos. Henry of Navarre, the Protestant groom, survived only by converting to Catholicism under duress. The massacre deepened France's religious divide, fueling decades of war. It also shocked Europe, with Protestant nations like England condemning the killings. The Seine, they said, was choked with bodies, the water stained red for miles. Survivors fled, carrying tales of horror that haunted generations. The massacre became a symbol of how fear and power can turn neighbors into executioners overnight. This story is a chilling reminder of humanity's dark side. It's not just the body count, it's the betrayal, the lies, the way a single night turned a city of celebration into a graveyard. It's a story that makes you question trust, faith, and the cost of division. I wonder how far people will go in the name of belief.